So thanks everybody for turning up and then spending the next 15 minutes with me. So I'll be talking about how we did our transformation using different SUSE tools, how I actually explain to our boss what I'm trying to do, where I'm spending the money, what benefit that it brings. So it's more like a storytelling for 50 minutes. It won't be very technical, so if you are expecting extremely technical, we're in a storytelling section. So just hope everybody would enjoy. So a bit of background. So my name is William. So I come from Hong Kong. I just arrived Berlin yesterday morning. First time in Berlin, first time in Germany. So far so good, very happy. So a bit of background. I think that will help to theme why I think this way. I was a programmer for a year, around year 2000 when I finished my school. I realized that it seems like I don't have talent to be a good programmer. So I like to do physical building PC and so on. So I thought, okay, programmer, that's not for me. Let's do something more server, infrastructure. So I end up doing, at that time there was still a company called Sun Microsystem. So I was doing that sort of Sun Solaris field engineer. So who goes to a customer data center middle of the night, fixing their server, changing RAM, doing, if you remember some things called tape drive that we used to do backup. So if someone's tape stuck, I'll be there middle of the night fixing physical things. So that was interesting. So we saw a lot of very large scale server, a lot of, at that time, investment bank, how they did their server distributed way of designing infrastructure. So that helps along the way. So at that time, there was more, everything's consolidated. And then I did help other customer to do Unix to Linux, and then to virtualization, to public cloud. So the first time I did something related to container, related to Kubernetes, that was around 2017. So and then I led the team to help other customers doing this sort of let's containerize all your applications. It would help do some automation, CI/CD pipelines, and so on. So we did the first project in Hong Kong back then, and then we keep doing the same thing for different industry, for different customer. But the idea is still, can we automate from how a developer works when they finish coding? They said this is working until the time that my customer or their customer can use the application. Can we shorten the time but not sacrificing security? So that's the more or less the background. So before I joined Nova Credit for about 2 years ago, the last project I did was with a major global consulting company. We were helping a not issuing bank in Hong Kong, doing exactly the same thing. So and then I joined Nova Credit, and doing the same things again. So it's really nice that you keep doing the same solution for different people, different industry, and we realize that it actually works and help the customer. Otherwise, they won't come back and keep using the same solution. So that's the same mentality. And at Nova Credit, it's actually the first time I'm actually being a customer instead of selling things to a customer. Now I'm a customer. The perspective change, a lot of consideration actually change. After I kind of slowly understanding the difference between a system integrator, a consultant, or a customer, that my boss would kind of, it won't look good if I mess up something. So it's a different mentality, but we're trying to solve the same thing. So a bit about what we do, I'll be walking through a bit what Nova Credit do, why we did the transformation. There is always a reason. And then what we've achieved. And another interesting thing that I already tried to explain to other audience is how we actually explain it to a non-technical person, how we explain to our CEO, how we explain to our CFO what I'm trying to do, and they understand it, and then they sign the paper. I think that's the very interesting, trying to do a non-technical way of explaining what things we are doing. And then in terms of different area, why we pick the SUSE solution, why it helped, and maybe a little bit of tips while we are implementing it, and we have been using it for slightly over a year, and what we learned in this sort of different area. So a bit about Nova Credit. So we're a credit reference agency in Hong Kong, or in the old days, it's also called a credit bureau. So what we do is we have the most critical and sensitive data about everyone in Hong Kong, so that we have about 6 million of public users record. So how many credit cards do they have? For every month, have they paid the bill? What sort of limit they have? Do they have a house? Are they paying mortgages? So with all that sort of extremely sensitive data, we always try to explain to people that integrity and availability, security, all these are actually very, very important to us. Otherwise, our company can't exist. And then we're also heavily regulated by different government bodies or the banking industry. So you can simplify it. You can think about all the banks in Hong Kong, they send us data every month. We process it, and then in return, we return a credit score about William. How many score how much money should I trust to loan to William? So this is the whole theme what we do. And the Chinese name, actually, the third and the fourth character is actually means integrity in Chinese. So when the company was found, the chairman and the co-founder, the first things they keep saying is that we have to keep the integrity. So we have to make sure not just the banks, the customer, also the public, everyone in Hong Kong feel comfortable to have their data being stored by us, process it according to laws, according to all the privacy requirement. So what we do have to be extremely secured. So and what I'm also trying to explain to others before is that although we are in a highly regulated industry, it doesn't mean we can't innovate. It doesn't mean we can't transform. But we just have to always keep in mind how we are going to transform, but keeping the security. So what we actually produce to the customer. So the customer, whether it's the bank or a general public, they can retrieve a credit report about themselves. That's an example. So you see a PDF. If someone retrieve and get their credit report, there will be a score that is being calculated, and then the secret sauce was designed by our teams of data scientists. So that will help to tell the user or the bank how good their performance. And if the score is getting lower, you should be watching out and then improving it. If your score is higher, it's more likely a bank would loan you money or at a lower interest rate. So, and the right side is the mobile app that we are also offering to all the citizens in Hong Kong. So now they can install an app, they can retrieve their credit report anytime they want. And the interesting thing is both this PDF and this mobile app actually is running on a Rancher platform. So in short, every credit report is running as a container on a Rancher Prime solution. And then with that, we also adopted the Longhorn as a storage. We also, at that time, because we think about security. So the first thing we thought about is, if we're going to containerize, how to keep it secure? Is there tools that can help us? And then we also adopted NewVector to help us along the way. So we basically got the whole suite, and then that actually helps our system admin and helps our developer to do that job and knowing that they are safe. So what we do is, credit provider basically are banks. So they submit data to us every month. We have to process it in a very short time. So there are two types. One type is that it's like a POS in the convenience store. We have to return the score in seconds. The SLA is in seconds, it's not in minutes. So there might be someone at the bank's counter or a moneylender's counter and want to do a loan immediately. So we can't tell them come back tomorrow. Yeah, and then the SLA is seconds. That PDF comes out in seconds. And then the other would be, in Hong Kong right now is the government is operating a central platform. So the logic is all the banks, all the moneylenders, there are about close to 100 participants sending their updates. Some of them is real time. Like if I make a loan application, maybe a few minutes later, maybe tonight, there will be a message sending out, hey, William is making a loan. And then so I can't go out to multiple banks taking loans at the same time or in a very short period. So as to prevent fraud and so on. So we got the data. There are only 3 credit reference agencies in Hong Kong. We are one of them. We are probably the youngest one. We're more like a startup, 80 people, 90 people in the whole company. So around 20 is IT, system administrator and developers. About maybe 8 to 10 are data scientists. And then we have to actually write the whole core system in-house because there isn't such a system for sale from any vendor. And then the main competitor we're facing has been a monopolized company in Hong Kong for the last 40 years. So we have a bit of pressure to deliver something that works and useful to the banks and to the public. So basically, why transform? So the whole story starts from when I joined this company. So we, as usual, I joined the company trying to talk to different stakeholders. What's your concern? Why you hire me if there's already a bunch of people doing IT stuff? So we found out that at that time, I joined about in the summer. And at the end of the year, there is a major milestone that we have to launch. And then it has to be launched with very good availability. We will start receiving data from the banks to do a lot of code testing before they send everything over. So at that point, I joined the company, and then we have to really rush everything. And all the applications were mostly Java, mostly Spring Boot, but they're all sitting on different, very large virtual machines, doing a little bit of things, very low utilization, and so on. So we kind of refactored the whole infrastructure. We built a whole private cloud, and then we start to look for a trustworthy container platform. So that's how it all started. We have very high SLA requirement. So some of them in seconds, some of them maybe in a couple of hours. If a bank sends everything over for us to process, we have to process maybe millions of reports in a few days. So all of them, we have to be able to have a flexibility. So if you join a company, you see this SLA, you have a bunch of virtual machines running on your most important workload. And it's not reasonable to ask your system administrator, can we have 100 more virtual machines tomorrow and get it deployed? It doesn't work. So we have to solve that problem. Otherwise, we just can't launch. So time to market is one thing why we kind of pinpoint we have to change. And then also the security and compliance. So because we have the most sensitive data, and then we're kind of receiving data from all the banks. So they'll be looking at us, how we store, how we process, how we secure the data. And then we'll refer, for the standard that we are adopting is mostly ISO standard and PCI DSS. So when we have to change and look for a solution, we hope that solution actually can help us to streamline and to prove that we're secure across the platform. For application side, it's okay, we can get outside consultant to do penetration tests, a lot of different testing. But for the infrastructure, there are a lot of work to be able to explain to the auditor why our infrastructure is safe. So from my previous experience, we found that it actually helps if we move our application into a container platform that is already certified in different compliance. And then, as usual, we have the same team, and the business always want things quicker. They hope we can do things more efficient. Is there tools, is there a new way of working that we can do more with the same amount of people? This requirement happens anywhere in the world. So what we've done. So we actually reduced the time to market. So even for the core system, if we make changes, we agree to write some new code, the programmer finish it. Technically, they can get it deployed in minutes through Git, through all the automation, and it would running in the testing environment in the Rancher cluster in minutes. So we always say that it takes longer for our developer to look for me and a couple more people to sign off and approve their changes that actually technically get it deployed. So that helps a lot. That solves the 100 VM. How can I provide that? That sort of problem is solved. So we get the flexibility once we did the transformation. And the latest service we've done is that because we're a startup, we are testing a lot of new products to the market. So when there's an idea coming up, we try to write a very simple MVP. The programmer can usually write it in about 2-3 weeks to get it testing and then deploy. And then in the old time, it's always programmer finish their job. Suddenly, there is information security. There's the infra guy coming, hey, you need to give me install guide. So with the end-to-end automation, we get the platform running, we give them the right permission, and then we make sure all the pipelines already got the integration with different tools like NewVector, doing all the scanning. So a lot of things has been automated. So it's more like when I sign off, I just look at the pipeline. Is everything passed? Any error coming back from different scan tools? If no, yes, sign it. Let's do it. Let's schedule a convenient time to do it. So it's for probably the last 6 months or more, we have been consistently doing deployment every 2 weeks. It's mainly we try to cater for the developers' requirement of a 2-week sprint. We can deploy quicker, but we're trying to actually to slow down a bit, and let's do it slowly, securely. But if there's some things we heard feedback from customer, some things doesn't work, can we fix it immediately? After it's fixed, it's always minutes. We can get it deployed. So this basically wouldn't be possible if there is a lot of manual work, a lot of communication that the developer has to come over, explain to our administrator what he wants to do, or explain to the InfoSec what kind of impact that it brings. So we spend quite a lot of time and effort in the team to create the platform, to make sure everybody is comfortable, no matter it's the developer, infrastructure, and security compliance. Everybody's happy if we run this default pipeline. If it passes, please don't bring out any last-minute issue. So everything is rolling nicely right now. So because of the automation, so we basically, all the applications running on there already comply with the ISO standard that we have. We are being audited every year. It's already complying with the PCI standard that we are being audited. And it's really nice that the Rancher workers, we can set it as a CIS standard profile. So that also helps us to get through all the compliance. So the end result is that we actually reduced the cost by 30%, being a bit more efficient with all the hardware, software that we're using. That haven't taken into account the manpower, the man days that we save. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And we actually support the business growth by 15%, as said by our CEO. So we actually can do more business with the same people, with the same IT spending. So this part is the how I explain this, the story. There were a few different pages explaining what is a virtual machine, what is a container, and I won't bore you to that. So I just take the summary. So basically, the left side is talking about how much we would be able to save if we do this transformation. The right side would be, besides money, what else will we get out of it? So a few key things when we did our study and our costing, we found that if we do the DevSecOps automation, we actually don't have to hire that much developer or infrastructure guy compared to a very traditional, I wrote the program, I wrote the install guide, pass it to someone sitting next to me, and everything has to be manual. So we estimated that only this kind of the saving of extra headcount pays for the whole SUSE solution. Yes. And then at first, when we adopted it, we were thinking very ideal case. So a year down, I would also suggest not to be too kind of hoping for the best solution, and also try to settle in the middle. So we were thinking about developer, infrastructure guy working happily ever after together. So they're mostly happy, but not always. So, but we found a kind of a middle ground. If everybody stick to this automation, the infrastructure, or now the platform team will be happily supporting you when you pop over with a cup of coffee and ask for a flavor, and we can do it in minutes. So that actually helps. And then we were thinking about all the developer would be doing their own pipeline, their own container build. That never happened. So eventually we assigned one of the, well, we hired one of my old previous colleagues who have experience with me working on DevOps project for the last few years. So we don't have to teach him everything. So he started to do all the pipeline. He started to do all the automation, and then explain to other colleagues, and then let them try it. And then right now we have more than half of the team can do everything themselves. But if a lot of time it's just the balance of the developers still prefer to write their own application solving business problem. So we have someone helping them to maybe do the integration, to do the packaging. So it's still okay. So we have to enhance the application security. That's one of the key things we explain to the management. In the old way, there are a lot of manual work, a lot of effort to do a lot of scanning. But now, because the design is, by design, is more secure, all the application code has been scanned before it's being put into the Rancher platform. So and they kind of understand what it does. So security compliance actually make the whole investment a much stronger case. And it's nice that we tell them because of the efficiency compared with a bunch of virtual machines sitting there doing nothing and taking up all the CPU memory, it's more efficient. We actually can delay a lot of hardware purchase. So that actually that also contributes to the 30% saving. And because we need less server, we actually need less software. In the server, there are a lot of, besides the operating system, there's also antivirus, a lot of security tools that we actually have to pay for. Those also brings in extra saving. So in short, just the headcount already cover the user expense. All the others are benefit. So we just explain to the boss, basically, we're getting better, getting quicker for nothing. You already have to spend the money to hire the people anyway. But now we use tools, you don't have to worry about people problem, and we still get the jobs done. So it's a bit easier, less technical for the boss to understand. It's on premise because of our nature of the privacy law. It's easier for us to prove that we're secure on premise. because of the data ownership, where the data is. If we put it on public cloud, we would have to spend a lot more effort to do the whole cloud landing zone design, have all the existing operation procedures convert from a data center centric into a public cloud centric. It can be done if needed. It's just that at that point, I just got a few months to launch the service. That isn't a good idea at that time. But we keep that. Probably down the line, we will be using a bit more public cloud for some shorter term or bursting workload. So that also helps if we know that as long as I can find somewhere run a RKE2, I'm sure that my application works. So that also bridge the problem. We always say that we are multi-cloud ready because of it. So the effect, the whole benefit, I've covered a bit already while I was chatting. The other one that I haven't mentioned, let's see, is this thing. HADR, that was a nice surprise. So remember in the old days, virtual machine, every system have to have their own set of documentation, how you do high availability within the same data center, how you do disaster recovery across another data center. 10 applications, 10 set of documents, a lot of writing that most IT guys don't like. Now it's one set of documentation, one set of kind of disaster recovery drill procedure. We just swap the application's name on the top and then namespace is this one. These are the container names, all the document we can reuse. So it's working so good that all the new applications we have, when we release, we have to get a third party to do penetration tests and a lot of review on our documentation. So my colleague can write the application, get it deployed, ready for testing, ready for pen test, copy out a few Word document, Excel file, changing a few lines, and he already get a previously tested procedures. So nothing have to write from scratch anymore. So that actually also save a lot of time and effort on this. Okay, I got still 20 odd minutes. It's a bit small, I'll just explain. So because of the isolation requirement across environment, we have all the production, UAT, development, or some DevOps toolings all running into a different Rancher cluster managed by the same management server. This side is one of the data center, this side is the other one. And then we're running it on a private cloud in our data center. So when it eventually happens to be quite nice this year that we're not running on VMware, we're running on a Huawei private cloud. So basically they use their public cloud solutions, try to downsize it, shove it into my data center, working fine so far. And I don't have to worry about moving out yet. But then a lot of compatibility issue would raise up because not a lot of vendor would actually do certification or integration with this vendor. So that also helps that we know another customer running basically similar stack Rancher on top of a Huawei private cloud. So that also helps. We have friends that is already using it, and they're happy, and then we can always have someone to talk to. Definitely very small. Developer doing their coding into Git, it gets scanned, we use SonarQube, and then when it's being built, this is the development pipeline. And then in the middle, it would goes to the Lexus Together repro. New vector is here, constantly scanning it. Some of the newer pipeline, we get it from the pipeline calling new vector. Please help me to scan it and give me the result back. I don't want to wait. And then it goes to development. And then it can, when the developer decided they have to do a release, they do their branching, and then it would get deployed into UAT. And then all the stress tests, a lot of security scan is also here. For production, because we have to keep the traditional change management. So basically, we just do something technically very simple. All the automation stop in the non-production repository. And then if I sign off the application, someone will help them to trigger the copy of those container from a non-production into the production repository. And then it then can be scheduled, deployed into the production environment. So technically, very, very simple, not complicated at all. It's not fully automated, but it's good enough for us to fit in all those change management requirements. So why SUSE? So one side we look at it, why we end up using the SUSE solution is that by our standard, we have to comply with the privacy by design, security by design principle as set in the overall security and compliance requirement. We just talk about the Hong Kong side, the ISO, the PCI. There's another set of security requirement in mainland China, similar to ISO, but not really ISO, but still very full spectrum coverage. And because of our location and our business nature, we do mostly service to Hong Kong citizens. But if they go into China, or if someone comes from China into Hong Kong and they need their credit report, we need to help them to cross the border legally and securely. So we have to comply to both set of security requirements. So you can consider it's basically double of what you are doing with ISO, with PCI. We're doing it two set of standard. And because of it, we talk about saving time. A lot of things has to be integrated. So a bit of tips is that we are using the CIS profile. It actually helps to explain to the auditor a lot. So they see it, they kind of read about the document, a few screenshots. Oh, we're happy. The vendor said it's CIS standard. They might do some scanning. It still looks good, and then they won't bother me again. So that helps. It's still we're looking into the MTLS, the kind of the certification management. We want end-to-end encryption. Some service we're doing end-to-end. Some less critical one, we might terminate it at the still ingress. So it depends on it. But we know that we have a way of doing automations down the line. And then the compliance report, it helps that we just tick those boxes. We care about CIS, we care about ISO, we care about PCI, and get reports sending to my colleagues. We send it to the developers and the infra team. So both of them will look at it. It's more like the development team will look at their existing running application. Oh, this one got some CVE. Let's confirm a time by our maybe 2 weeks later in our next deployment. Let's also update the base image. So that's also, that helps us to kind of cross team to looking at the same report and make sure that everything's running fine. And if we want, we can use this report also as a supporting. So that works out quite nicely. Since I'm here, so a bit more about how we're using NeuVector. So it scans all the containers daily, and we're bundling it or integrating it with with our pipeline. We're using Jenkins. So we kind of extract the alert from NeuVector, and then we port it over to Elastic, our observability solution, and from there it goes to OpsGenie. So our InfoSec guy actually recently did all this part of integration. And then so if someone logs into the container, get a access, and then run some command within the container, his mobile phone will ring. And then he'll look up and see who did this, and then suddenly appears behind that guy. So it helps us to kind of try to prevent people doing convenience things instead of security things. So out of the alerts from NeuVector, there's also one recent discovery I found out is that since it's so easy for us to deploy, we have to have a mechanism to prove that our developer actually haven't deployed a new version without everybody approving it. So from NeuVector, we also did some rules out there to make sure that if a service is being restarted or is running with a different container, let's have an alert and try to figure out do we have a change request for this? Is everyone approving or someone doing shortcuts? So this is also something pretty recent that we kind of have another side of alerting. So we did start from simple, a lot of rules that we're using. We are getting started with the zero trust protection. Right now it's more like a monitoring, alerting, telling us this doesn't look right. Can you have a look? But we're not still trying to select some of the more stable or simpler service we want to switch into a block mode. So this is still in the agenda. We're looking to do that. So we're still, honestly, on New Vector, we're still a very beginner, intermediate, in the middle level. We haven't used all the feature, but I think just for helping us to get through all the auditing, compliance, and this sort of let's have a look alert, I think we're more than comfortable. We're very happy. So when we have time, we can always add more advanced feature in there. But so the tips is that a lot of these solutions are actually quite comprehensive. So try to keep it to the bare minimum, maybe in the first 6 months. Get everybody using it. Don't scare them away. So right now we are at a pretty good stage. Developer happy to log into New Vector and try to find out what's wrong with his application and his container, why he's getting alert or getting people asking him questions. The InfoSec guy can overlook basically most of the things that he wants without bothering people, giving him reports and so on. So everybody can do their job. Now move on would be how can they do it better with all the new features and new ways of managing, or how we can better manage a bunch of different New Vector across our environment. So we have a small farm, but because of the isolation, we now have, I think, 12 or 13 individual Ranger cluster, all of them very small. But you have to spend effort to manage them and to also get data out of it. So more on the federation, integration, we are always looking for advice or see how other people are doing it. So for the application side, so because we have to build our own application, there isn't a solution we can buy off the shelf. So we're a kind of a 6-year-old startup. So the company invested for 6 years. A lot of coding has been written. The core logic is always right. We're just tuning it, maybe performance, maybe efficiency. So at the first discussion with our developer head, we were thinking, hey, let's move everything into microservice. It would be cool. It would be very efficient, but it would take 2 years. And we have to launch something at the end of the year, 6 months away. So try to be realistic. So we made the decision because of the benefit, the flexibility, the availability improvement, or the security that I mentioned. It doesn't make sense, but let's pack all the program, have it running in the container, keep it running without failing, and we can kind of tune every one of them, rewrite whatever you want, but we have to open for business. That's the most important thing. So, we argue for days whether it makes sense to repack a 32 gig RAM usage Java program into a container. Technically, it doesn't make sense. It's wasting a lot of resources, but we get the high availability, DR, all those flexibility. So we settle for it. Let's have it running. I'll be bothering you every month asking when are you going to tune this thing. It's not efficient. So it took a few months, and then the program team made some changes. It's getting a bit more reasonable, about 6-8 gig of memory usage, down from a 32, but we end up with many of them. And a similar idea. So we talk about we have to run a lot of credit report, millions of credit report, maybe in a few days. So how can we do that? So for that part, of course, that is the first service we did, microservices. And then right now we can have maybe 100 or 200 ports because of our hardware limitation. Where at most we can afford to have maybe 200 ports running the generator to do this calculation and also create the PDF. So we can fulfill basically even the largest batch requirement that we have, while people would be logging in from the mobile app, and then they still get their own report, the dashboard, within 2-3 seconds. So that's it's impossible to be 100% microservice, but we're trying and we're learning, and there might be some service eventually. It might go back to a virtual machine, but most of them we're doing fine in a container. So we talked about the deployment. Longhorn, yes. When we first started, from our previous experience, that we need a storage for running our application, don't believe in other people telling you container is stateless. Yes, container is stateless, but the data it processes still have to store somewhere. Sometimes it doesn't go well with database. For example, if you have PDF, you probably won't put it into a database. So it doesn't make sense to go to a very traditional storage company, buy a huge SAN or NAS, and then have it running with the container platform. So during the design phase, we were decided to find a software solution. So so far we're happy with the simplicity of the Longhorn design. So a lot of it is that we save time. We don't have to worry about integration. The product team already done all the difficult bit for us. We just use it. If we go with a third-party storage solution, we have to do all the checking ourselves, and I don't have that much people to do all this sort of compatibility.
Thank you. So I have two questions. One is technical, the other one is curiosity.
Yeah.
The first one is, you spoke about having Huawei helping you with a sort of virtual cloud private, right? Did you think about using Harvester? Because in most of your case scenario, Harvester would be actually a solution, just below Rancher.
Yes, I can give you the answer. At that time, when I first joined the company, I have to replace the whole infrastructure. At that point, I haven't started to talk to the SUSE team yet. Even at that time, Rancher was still in planning. Well, I was thinking about who should I get the container platform from. I didn't know about the existence of Harvester. Otherwise, that would be a total different story. And I'm always looking for how can that help with us in maybe in a different use case. I'm always open for this sort of software-driven virtualization HCI solution that is flexible, that I have a choice. So
I guess you're in the right place to understand that
today. Yes. So that's one of the aim that why I came over and try to meet different people. Yeah. So we can find out whoever wrote it. I can ask a lot of questions, and then that might open us to have a tier of computing that is cost effective, that I can start to run all the maybe development, testing workload on. Should I go with Rancher on bare metal? I still got a list of questions I want to ask. So yes, I think it's good.
I guess you're in the right place.
Yes.
And just a curiosity, given the sensitivity of the matter that you actually treat with your application,
yes.
I was curious about how you get a sort of certification. I guess that you have to get an approval to manage those data and prove those scores. So my question was more about, if you speed up the development of your code and you change a lot of things, yes, is that an issue to get the approval? You have to submit it. So being the fact that you get faster is a problem for your business or not?
Yes and no. So I try to explain it. There are kind of regulatory bodies looking at how we do things, but one of the key pieces is that we have to submit an audit report annually to them, and they can at any time, short notice, come to our office, come to our data center, asking questions. So that's kind of how it works. So what we started with that is, before container, we're comfortable that our security is at a certain level. If introducing container, the minimum requirement from our CRO, the Chief Risk Officer, is that you have to be on par or should be better. So if you can show me it's getting more secure than how we are running on virtual machines, or more efficient to maintain the security, then he's really supportive. So as long as we have the solution, we test it, we try to explain to different people, and then the team actually we works together to explain to our third-party auditor. If they are happy, they sign off the report, everybody is okay. So it's the same with any audit, more on the ISO or the data privacy side, or the PCI one that everybody is more familiar with. So it's similar. And then right now what we see is that more application is running on it. A lot of developers just come to me, hey, I've written a new application for a department. Can we deploy it? I already tested it out in the development cluster, testing cluster. I created a namespace, everybody happy. 2 weeks, I want to launch to the public. So we were getting more pressure on hardware resources. So that's why we start thinking about, can we run the development testing more efficiently? Maybe bare metal, maybe what you said, harvester, free up the slightly more expensive private cloud setup for the production workload. That might be an idea. Do things in tier. In terms of kind of importance, if it's customer facing, let's put it on the kind of the more powerful or the more well-managed stack. But we can always try new things with our development and testing environment. So that's the idea. Okay, I still got a few more minutes, and I'm really close to the end, so we should be safe to finish on time. So operation, a few points that is key why we chose SUSE, and also what we gain from it. So I have experience with most of your competitors' solution. During the time in consultation, I also work with customer using the Rancher solution, using K3S, using at that time that was only RKE. I didn't realize that there was RKE until we really studied it and install it in our environment. So it's easier to install. The requirement, I can get a very junior staff, kind of guide him along the way. He get the cluster running pretty quickly without much problem. Whereas with other solutions, I need to get a 10, 15 years experience administrator and still have to place a lot of service call asking why it doesn't work. So when I get my senior administrator on board and tell him, can you join me at Nova Credit, help me to build this thing? He explicitly asked which Kubernetes distribution that I'm going to buy. If we go for another competitor one, he wouldn't join me. So that actually shows it. Actually, people like how the whole Rancher platform works. It's simple enough. Our technical guy like it a lot. And then for platform update, it's reasonable, and with the flexibility. So we're always learning, and then we're doing okay. Another tips is the base image with the BCI. We found that we have to constantly explain to the developers. We have to try to have a standard base image, help us to do scanning, help us to explain to the auditor that we have everything in control. So unless really necessary and it won't run on BCI, it's now our standard. If someone wants to run something that they built without BCI, we basically would ask them and see if it makes sense. So that actually helps to standardize. Also, the aim is always standardize, automate, free up people time to doing real work. The built-in monitoring, that is one of the surprise that I actually learned myself. So when we built the container platform, we implemented a quite good observability solution, application monitoring, and so on. But end up a lot of developers, they just use the built-in log, built-in way in Rancher to look at the logs, to look at the Grafana, and then most of the time they can get their answer. And then they mentioned that it's easier to actually learn how to look at it in the interface than going into Elastic to learn how to search. So they only look at that for kind of application tracing. They go to the APM solution. But most of the time they're spending their day using the Rancher interface. So that actually working, and then when we glance over to the developer screen, IDE at the other screen normally is the Rancher management screen. So everybody actually using it, that's nice. So wrapping up, just on time, brilliant. We just switched to the Liberty Linux. So that helps, that is a very long story in short. It helps us to kind of want to migrate. If we want to migrate a virtual machine to container, we have the flexibility. We don't have to talk to two vendors and then planning across different contract end days. When can we move our application? We have to wait for this existing contract 1 month left and move over. We don't have that worries anymore. So all our pre-existing Red Hat Linux machines, the contract is now over and is running using the Liberty Linux support. I just got it all working last week when I worked with the local professional service team. And my engineers told me that it's all working fine, different distribution. They can patch it through the SUSE manager. So the team is really happy. They finally have a more automated or user-friendly, admin-friendly way to do patching. So they don't have to SSH into every machine or doing the only two Ansible scripting to do patching. Now they can do it properly. So that also helps. The other thing is the cost saving on the Liberty Linux already justify us adding the SUSE manager, and I still actually have a quite significant saving that I can report to my boss. So everybody happy, and then we now have our own flexibility. We want to migrate to container, fine, we can do it at our own pace. We want to rebuild the old Linux machine with a new Slack machine. We can do it at our own pace. We don't have to worry about all those contract negotiation, procurement anymore. I think that actually helps to get the IT team innovating without all those contract things stopping them. I think that's also really nice that we're ending up here. And we're moving more applications on Rancher without me asking the developer to consider it. It's now basically the default. And then we're always trying to learn a bit more about how each of the products should work. How, as a user, there must be a better way of utilizing it. So that's why I'm here. So that's the end of my sharing, and I'm just barely on time. Any other questions, suggestion, or anyone that I should meet after this meeting to understand more?
What you can combine really is that when you have the Rancher platform, I'm not sure if it works with that, but when you talked about the monitoring, what I believe is that you can also include Argo CD to have the declarative application deployment and have monitoring on top of it. I'm not sure it works with Rancher, but it does work with AKS or EKS or any cloud.
For the CD part, we actually did some study. We thought that would be really nice and helpful to do it one day. We kind of, it's just as we don't have a large team, and the developers, when we talk to them, hey, CD is nice. You can choose Argo, you can choose Fleet. We can get people to support you. And the reply I get is, let's think about that next year. Let's write the actual code that help the business first, and then we can always tune it later. But that's, CD is definitely an area that we want to improve on, because we can't do much with a simple Jenkins pipeline. We really want to do things a bit more in detail, and as you said, script it, and we can always, when we do a diff on the Git, we can see the changes or all those drifting things. It would be really nice one day.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you made it through the whole 50 minutes. 55. Oops. And then thank you for your time.